Madam Chair, we are live again.
Okay, welcome back. We'll go back to item 2.4. We were current serving board members and term dates.
There they are, Madam Chair. Yes, perfect.
Okay, so it looks like zones 1, 2, and 3 will be an election year next year. We have 3 board members. Zones 4 and 5 will go again in 2025. So
And as just way of information, that election takes place in November of 2023, so not this year, but the following year. And that's an election that we do not run as a district. It's one that the county puts on. So if there are individuals interested in running for board members, they would have to reach out to the county, but that's not going to be till 2023.
thank you for that. Okay, so every January is when we do kind of a reorganization of our board and meeting dates and things. So yeah. We'll just jump in with chair, vice chair, clerk, and treasurer. If there are any nominations for chair to serve for the ensuing year, we'll be open for those nominations.
Madam Chair, I move that we nominate Tanis again.
I don't know if I need a second on that.
You need a second on
A
that?
second on it.
Second that.
Well,
And just for discussion, it just takes a lot of time, and we appreciate it. We appreciate all you've done in the past. I know you've been in and done your duty. Are you interested in doing that again?
it's actually the team behind it all that makes it so easy. I truly don't mind, but if anyone else has a desire to take a turn, I'm all for that as well. So,
You know, if I lived here, I wouldn't mind doing it, but I, like you said, if you have to be here every week and there's so many things you have to be here for, that somebody else has anything.
all right, well, we'll go ahead and vote on that motion then. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes then. Thank you. Nominations for vice chair. Serve for the ensuing year.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we're willing to serve as vice chair.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
I appreciate your support, and I'll take on this duty to do the best I can for the school district. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Before we open for motions for clerk to serve for the ensuing year,
Madam Chair, I move that I nominate Carrie McGraw for that position.
is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Mrs. DeGraw, do you accept that nomination? Yes, ma'am. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Nominations for treasurer to serve for the ensuing year.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we nominate Patty Bingham for treasurer to serve for the ensuing year. Oh, and Julie Hall as the assistant for this ensuing school year.
Do you ladies accept those nominations? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, you should have before you a code of ethics that you need to review and sign, and get back to Mrs. DeGraw. Pretty straightforward, same as years previous. One note I'd like to make about these code of ethics is that we maintain open meeting laws. That is probably our most paramount item, is to make sure that we're not violating those open meeting laws.
That'd be number 2 on that.
Thank you, Mrs. DeGraw. Just keeping us in mind. Okay, we need to set the dates and times for our 2022 meetings. We'll be open for a motion.
So, Madam Chair, the dates, we put this up here for discussion as well for the board. The time would be 1:30 p.m. for the regular meetings. Generally the third Thursday, with the exception of February 24th. And July. Looks like and this is again a proposed one, so June, July. We'll check on these. In years past, we've had the July date be the 4th Thursday, but it could be the 3rd. I don't know. What are some thoughts? Because Mrs. DeGraw, I put these together for the board, but ultimately it's going to be your guys' decision
For what reason?
with what you do. Part of the reason I had that on the 4th kind of follows the February 24th. Keeping that at the 4th week doesn't impact it when we, if the girls basketball team does go to state, that will pull away everybody. So I tried to put that into a week where there wouldn't be a potential for that to be pulled away.
And then your reason for July?
For July, there's a lot of downtime, I guess, in the summer, or more downtime in the summer, that in June, we just barely met for the budget hearing. That allows us to get closer to the week before we kick off at school, just allowing it to have more time to be prepared for that. And so that's why the change would be for the July.
July, the 3rd week is the 21st and the 4th week is the 28th for July. And then the June meeting would be the 23rd or the 16th, actually.
Do you have a preference? Is it going to be easier for you to do one than the other?
For the date,
Mhm.
for the July one, it doesn't really matter to me.
I think we should, as much as we can, keep it on the 3rd.
Okay,
The
Unless
third
there's a good-
Thursday,
Yeah, unless there's a good reason, if there's a good reason.
no, that's fine. We don't have a date up there in June, Mrs.
That would be
DeGraw.
the 16th.
That one should be June 16th, which would be the 3rd.
Mhm.
So we could keep all of them, and that way the February meeting would be the only one.
That would be an
That
exception.
would be an exception. We changed our November one last year because the ISBA also,
Convention.
the convention got changed. Usually that convention is the first week in November. It's
That
not
one
the-
should be fine.
it should be.
And we will watch that as those dates come out.
And so, I guess it's up for discussion for the other board members, if you would have suggestions or differences of times.
I have a question for Tyson. Being a farmer, are you good with the, say, August through, say, October dates and times?
would it be easier for you guys to call in on those 4 days rather than at night or during the day?
Is it easier to do it during the day, during the summer months versus earlier in the day rather than middle of the afternoon? That's the other question.
What do you think, Tyson? Are those times and dates acceptable?
September one is probably the most worrisome. I
Yeah,
guess.
because the third crop baling
The
schedule.
others, I think we should be okay.
So what would be
It's
best
hard
for
to
the
tell,
time
so-
for September? Would it be earlier or later or?
I don't think it's really gonna matter.
It's just inconvenient for
I really don't think it's gonna matter.
So just maybe leave them there and then we'll just try to work around them.
Yeah, I think so.
And you know, that would be an option to call in on any of those
Mhm.
as well.
Just call in on the phone and just listen in and.
As long as there's a quorum, and that is one of the things that with each board member as volunteers, we recognize that each of you lead to, different lives and some of you are running businesses, some of you are raising kids, and there's always gonna be a pro and con on what's convenient. But because of technology, we do have the ability to call people in and listen, and so you can still fulfill your duties as board members and being involved with it, but
Mhm. I always try to do the best I can to make the meetings. I know I missed the August meeting because I was augering grain, but normally I try to make it a priority to be here to the meetings.
which you definitely have, because I've seen you pull in here with your work shirt on.
One time I came in here, not in the greatest shape.
You guys do a great job. What time would that put executive session at then, Mrs. Kibrow?
Typically, we'll do it at 12:45. Normally, we don't need more than 45 minutes. And if we have a more pressing issue that might take more time, we will move it to 12:30 or even 12:15.
Okay.
And we'll just keep you abreast as to what the time frame would be for executive session as we approach those days.
And it looks like the holiday dates, those work out.
Yeah, with the Thanksgiving in December, November, December. Yes, they do.
Anybody see any conflicts? Anything I'm missing?
Is there any way in the summer months to do it earlier in the day? June, July, and August?
That would be up to the board.
Does that schedule work better for you, Nedra?
Anytime
Earlier?
is fine with me. When you're retired,
But you,
anytime is fine.
just as long as you can get home before dark. I know you don't like to drive in the dark.
I do drive in the dark, but I don't like to,
Mhm.
but I do.
Would there be any objections from the board to do board meeting at maybe 10:30 during the summer?
When you say morning, Mrs. Rigby, what is
It's like
that?
10 o'clock. Something like that.
10 o'clock would be fine with me.
Does that allow
The first
you as
half.
parents to be available for your children during the afternoon? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That or working
Yeah.
situations during the summer months, it's easier to get stuff done in the morning.
Okay.
So as not to have to stop midway.
When you say the summer months, you just mean when school's not in?
When school's not in.
June, July,
June,
August.
July, and August.
That would be better for me as a farmer. Same way with you, Tyson.
Yeah,
When we get it out of the way and. the
That
rest
would
of the
mean
day.
executive session would start between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah, if necessary. So that would put, there's 3 summer months at 10 o'clock AM. And the dates look right. They do. Mrs. Girardi, you have that noted?
I am going to go in and change it right now on our doc and then re-upload it.
Then I wouldn't mind a hard copy of that sometime.
Yeah, we'll print it out.
Yeah,
Next month or something.
We can get that before you leave today.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is showing August 17th as a Wednesday.
Look,
August 17th is the board meeting date.
and that's a Wednesday. That needs to be
Oh,
August
it is the
18th. I'll double
Yes, it
check.
is.
Let's double check all these dates here.
Okay,
24th is correct. 17th is correct for March. 21st is correct. 19th is correct. We're gonna add June 16th in there,
yes. At 10 a.m.,
10 a.m. July 21st, 10 a.m.
yes.
August
18th,
18th,
yes, at 10
10
a.m.
a.m.
Good idea.
September 15th, returning to the afternoon session at 1:30. October
20th,
20th. November 17th. December 15th. And then moving to next year's annual meeting, January 19th. Okay.
let me download this and repost it, and then you can refresh your docs, your board docs. Then the board can see it before they vote on it.
Bless you. I don't think so.
Like everything's going slow for us today. It's updating right now, just give it a minute.
Tell us when to refresh.
It's a lot for it to update because we've got lots on there. Go ahead and refresh, Mr. Williams. Go ahead and click on, no,
Wrong one. The
proposed one.
Yes, that has the changes, 10 a.m. for those three. So Madam Chair, that looks like we have, after discussion, and thank you, Mrs. Ruff, for having that. Turn that over to you on that.
There's no further discussion. The floor will be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the proposed school board meeting dates for 2022.
Yeah, and I will second that, Madam Chair.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I would like to challenge anyone to schedule their life out a year in advance like that. With no complications. Okay, next, school board norms, discussion and information. This was a good class we had at the ISBA.
Would you like me to touch on this information, Madam Chair? One of the things that we wanted to discuss, when COVID occurred, we were unable to have a live audience because of limitations. By law, we then were required to broadcast our board meetings to maintain the open meeting laws. Because those restrictions are no longer in place, that law is no longer in place. We are no longer required to broadcast our meetings. Our proposal for the board would be, and it doesn't need to be voted on, just as a norm, is that we will only broadcast as a courtesy our regularly scheduled meetings. It is a process to be able to broadcast it. And it allows, and it's a great thing to do for our regular meetings. It's difficult for boards, and the lawyers have found that it's difficult for the board to honestly work through conflicts or discussions if they're always on camera. And so as a courtesy, I would propose that one of our board norms be to only broadcast regularly scheduled meetings.
When we say regular schedule, I would say that meetings, like regular board meetings, so the ones that we just barely voted on, those 12 meetings that are on that schedule, those would be the meetings for the proposed board meeting schedule. These would be the ones that, as a courtesy, will continue to be live streamed, then also saved on the YouTube. A lot of different reasons for that. There's a superintendent report that happens every time on this, and I want people to know what's going on. But then also our action items, are generally on this one here for like 99% of the time. This is where we have all the business. This is where it's good to have that out. So thoughts from the board on that is something that, at least from the superintendent's office with the clerk, we thought that was reasonable. Unless you guys would like to do all of them, or I know sometimes we talk about, oh, it's no fun to be on here all the time, but what are your guys' thoughts?
I'm all in favor of just doing the 12 meetings.
Is that like a good norm for us?
I think so.
What does create that transparency? But at the same time, there's the caveat of if we have technical difficulties for whatever reason, the meeting does
Continue.
continue. So
Yeah, as we
just be aware of
as
that.
we've had some technical difficulties initially on this one. But I do like to have the option when we look back. We could be conducting this business, people are busy, they're not able to come,
Mhm.
then we lose an opportunity to have that outreach to those that use this. So I like that. Any other board norms that,
So I would propose that before our next board meeting, or before our next regular board meeting, we have a work meeting. Where as a board, we get a packet that gives us information of some of the board norms we need to establish. And they won't be action items, but there's some of the things would be the time that you want the board docs available, or which meetings you'll allow public comment at, and some of those things. But I would propose that we have a work meeting before our next meeting to establish more of our board norms that we could then share in our regular board meeting.
Before we leave, we'll set a date for that. Thank you, Mrs. DeGraw. So do we need an action item?
No,
All right, is there any further discussion on board norms then? Everyone's okay with putting in just the 12? Okay. All right, we'll move on then. The floor will be open for a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve our agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. The floor will be open for a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous board meeting.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Williams, your report.
Madam Chair. So just to touch up on the board norms, this is one that I knew we were going to be talking about, but I just wanted to make sure I had a chance to reiterate it here as a district that the board meetings, work meetings, POM meetings have all been recorded. This has been offered as a courtesy, but moving forward, the recordings will be for the board members would be just the board meetings. I will still keep doing POM meetings and recording those. But again, the board work meetings, what the board are concerned about. But again, anybody that wants notifications about any of these meetings can go onto the community portal, and all of the agendas are shared out with them, and they have access to all the different documents that we have here as a board. Earlier this month, I did share procedures sent out to the district parents for inclement weather, wind, snow, low visibility, cold day, getting the word out. We use our Ed Leo program to do that. We haven't had to use one. My kids have been very disappointed. There was wind one day and my son woke up and said, "Why are we going to school, Dad?" Because the wind's blowing. I said, "You can do it." And so, so right now it's, we haven't had any yet, but we do have a couple of different options for inclement weather. Just a COVID update. We currently right now we're monitoring the situation. Our staff members, we've been able to find substitutes so far, and we'll continue to stay in school as long as we can. I know as we've looked at our COVID plan, our goal is to stay in school at all costs. The only time that we would shut down is if we just can't find enough teachers to cover the classes, or other things like that. I know our lunch personnel, our transportation department, we're always mindful of those because it's really difficult. I know that some districts have had to cancel different things because they haven't had bus drivers. So far, we've been fortunate not to have that. And I'm interested to hear feedback on that, because if we are down a couple bus drivers, is it better to still come to school, but maybe have our buses go double routes? Those are some things that I have that we don't need to discuss right now, but that's some of the feedbacks we look at. Is it better still to stay in school as much as possible with that? So we're monitoring, but so far so good. There is a safety reporting system called CTEL Now. This is something that's available for all patrons, all parents, all students. If you go to the App Store, you can download on your phones CTEL Now app, and you have links to be able to share information to the schools about, a tip or a concern when it comes to safety, mental health, bullying, anything like that parents or students are concerned about. We will be, I'll be working with administration to determine the best way to push this out to the students as well. And so right now, I've trained the teachers on this, at least to allow them to know that it's available. But there's not a lot of training that goes into it. It's there to use. And it's just an app that reports things for safety. The last professional development meeting we had here in the district, these were the offerings. So Mr. DeGraw, he taught the mental health awareness. Mrs. DeGraw and Patty and Mrs. Bingham, they had a info for the staff. They had tax forms, human resource, purchasing surveys. And then I taught about the district strategic plan in the future. And we just switched places, and so we had 3 different groups. We rotated in the morning. Feedback from the teachers that they really appreciated the information. We invited all staff to this meeting, so it wasn't just the teachers. We invited our bus drivers, our food personnel, our classified, so they were able to come to that professional development training. Our school board, we just are in the middle of our annual meeting, or just left the annual meeting and now are in the regular meeting. And just an update that the next PA meeting will be February 9th here at the district office. Technology department, Mr. Weeks is working on some of the new E-rate grants, continuing up with a lot of that process. So E-rate grant has allowed us to be able to get a lot of technology, a lot of infrastructure in place with our computer systems. And he's going to continue to work with that. Maintenance, grounds, custodial. Snow removal has been a big thing early in this month. It seemed like it snowed every single day, which is, I wish it would just all snow at once, and then allows our staff to be able to push that off. But I do thank them for that. I went to a couple other schools, and granted, sometimes it depends on when the snow gets hit, but Mr. Soderquist and our crew do a great job of getting the snow off. They're here at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and rolling with that. And it's something that they take a lot of pride in, and we do our very best. And as you walk around, our parking lots are clear. I've been to other places where it got packed down, and that stuff's not leaving until spring. And so really grateful for their efforts. Another, just an update on the maintenance department. We did have some of the shafts and gears in one of our coal boilers that broke. And it happened last week, but just another shout out to Mr. Soderquist with his planning. He had made sure that we had parts available for that to be able, and it's something that probably would have taken a week to 2 weeks to have gotten a part in. We found out that it broke at the end of one school day, and he was able to have it up and running by the next morning with that. And so we didn't have any disruption in class. You know, that's going to be, especially this cold time of year, you're thinking we had the coal boiler going down, we're going to have to cancel school or feed the coal boiler by hand, you know, every couple hours. And so I've encouraged him to replace those parts and order new ones and get them coming, just to make sure we have those in place. And so appreciate his efforts in his department. Food service, you know, this is another thing where Mrs. Ward, she's had working through disruptions in food orders. You know, there's one day that she was making food. We didn't know if the buns were gonna make it in, and luckily she called up and said, "Where are you at?" and helped him scramble to get here. So that's kind of a weekly thing that she has to still deal with, because there are shortages in the food supply chain. And so she's working really hard, doing the best that she can with that. Transportation department, just an update. I know we talked in our November board meeting, or December board meeting, the Booster Club and community members were looking into purchasing a bus to donate to the school. Well, here it is. Really, a really beautiful bus, and thank you to our Booster Club and our community members for going and picking this out. They are working, I think it's a fine weather bus, because it's coming from California up in here to Idaho, and I don't think it liked the weather. There's a few things that they're working through. I did talk to Mr. Pincock and said, okay, what do you think on this with these issues that it's having? And he's like, you know what, these are some small quirks. He's not worried about it. The mileage is really low on it. Interior is really great. It rides really nice. And so he's still very optimistic that this is going to be a nice gift from the district, or to the district from the Booster Club. And so this bus will be used for all activities. Mr. Pincock, when he's assigning out the groups, will determine which group would need the travel bus. You know, it's not going to be the same group every single time that has it. And so thank you, Booster Club. Thank you, community members. What an awesome gift.
I have a comment, Mr. Williams. I wonder if in the future we could get some vinyl covering for it, for our school colors.
It's already in the process.
Is that right? Okay, that's good to hear.
Yep, already in the process, and they're looking to have that done. Yeah, that's part of it. Our secondary schools, we're excited to start offering driver's ed at West Jefferson again. Dean Erickson has completed the training for that, and we'll be starting that third try. One thing that's going to be different with this is we're going to be teaching it during the day. And so it will be during a class period during the day. It's going to be combined also with a study skills class, so that after the hours of instruction are completed, that they'll even be able to go and do the local drives with some of the students during the day. This was an idea that Mr. Erickson came up with himself, saying, hey, let me try it. Can we do it this way? We feel like this is going to help. Our kids are busy. Our families are really busy. And we're hoping that this will be able to reach them. I know that might make it difficult for one class period for some people not being able to get into it, but we're looking to make sure we're offering this in multiple trimesters as well. Mr. Harrelson's guitar class was featured on the news when they went to Walmart and played outside, and they actually raised money for the Secret Santa stuff for the district, and it was a lot of fun. Even had community members, alumni members who are in their bands or play musical instruments, say, they're from West Jefferson, and able to give Mr. Albertson a guitar, and he even joined in on some of the play, some of the really cool thing here with one of our students, our student body president, Jaylee Ball. She won the BFW Voice of Democracy contest for the entire state of Idaho. So here we have a state champion with her essay for the VFW, and she won the local one with the state, and she received a $1,000 check and other goodies for that. But she will now be able to take her essay to the national level. Sadly for her, it's virtual. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, I won, but it's virtual. We've had a couple national groups that weren't able to do this because of COVID. But she will have a chance to compete for $30,000 in scholarship money. And so great job to Jaylee, and I'm putting that out. And the last time that happened was 25 years ago. Did we really just age Mrs. Bernashaw Erickson with that one? We did, didn't we? Just yesterday.
That age issue as well, since you graduated the year before.
I know, but it's okay. So, but what a cool thing though, now we have 2 state winners from the Voice of Democracy that we know of in our school. Elementary schools book fair, our PTO here at the elementary. Tisha Bernashaw was the book fair chairperson on that, and she did a great job. They made over $5,000 in sales, which is, which then brings up points. And so the teachers were able to get a lot of books. Mr. Johnson is really encouraging all the teachers to get books into the classrooms. And so thank you to Mrs. Bernashaw for helping out with that book fair, donating her time. Wasn't just her, I know there was a number of others, our PTO president, Tiara Skidmore, and I was gonna say Mrs. Skidmore, but nobody would know.
Right.
She was there a lot helping out, so just great support from our community. And then I don't need to go, extracurriculars, winter sports are in full swing. We've got a lot of games. We've had to reschedule some because of other schools that didn't have their buses because of their COVID issues. But right now, we're just a lot of games going on, and before we know it, girls basketball will be into districts here at the end of next week. District tournaments are not going to be, only the championship game will be held at South Fremont. In years past, they'd hold the whole tournament there. But because of different schools having to schedule, now how they do the district tournament is the team with the higher seed will host, not like we did last year. And so there's a chance that we will have some district games at our school, or we go to another school for those district games. And then it's only the 2 schools that are in the championship game will go to the neutral place. So Madam Chair, that's what I have for my superintendent report. Thank you. If there's any other questions or comments, I can take those.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mrs. DeBride, do we have any public comment? Oh, no. Okay. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. The floor will be open for a motion to approve financial and personnel.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda part, financial and personnel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We also did the superintendent evaluation in executive session, and the floor would be open for a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to verify the completion of the superintendent's annual written formal evaluation.
And I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And the floor be open for a motion to ratify the transportation fuel purchase.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we ratify the transportation fuel purchase.
Is there a second?
I second that.
What was it?
That we bought some winter fuel.
we talked about this before.
This was one we talked about in December, and each year we purchase large amounts as much as we can and try to purchase the fuel when it's at its lowest. And
And we didn't approve this. We
no,
No, we just talked about it.
we talked-
no, and so the part that, there's gonna be two parts of this. With the, there's a summer mix, which is diesel number 2 or number 2 diesel. And then the winter mix is the number 1 diesel mixed with the number 2 50/50.
Okay.
And just a heads up that it's $1 per gallon higher, at least it's actually higher than that now, but when we went in and were able to earmark ourselves for this, we went in and found the lowest one. So this was back in December that it was at 269. It's actually at 288 today. It doesn't look like it's going to go down with that. And so budgetary things, we will have to look at and probably amend the budget with the prices going up as much as they've done. But so this first ratification is just to give us the go ahead, because it's going to be a $40,000 approximately, a $40,000 one. But because it's that big and it's a moving target, the board just needs to be aware that we're going out to do that. And then in March, we will look at the number 2 diesel and come back with another ratification of the number 2 diesel when that comes in.
So buying that fuel early in December saved the school some money.
Yes, it
If we
did.
got it for a little less money.
Yes,
I just wanted to let the public know that.
Okay, thank you.
even though it's, I don't know, it's still higher.
It's
Right.
still
I'm not
higher.
looking at the 2 farmers, well, the 3 farmers,
Yeah.
2 farmers' wives and the 2 farmers.
Yeah,
It's,
That's still plenty.
it's,
The fuel purchases this year are gonna be painful.
We have a motion and a second. So is there any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Williams, you did a survey on the blended day.
yes, the board had asked that we find information out about the blended day, on how our staff is reacting to it and their take on the blended day. So this last professional day, we had a blended day survey where we had 3 different groups. Our secondary teachers, our elementary teachers, are classified, which are paras, the food service, transportation departments. So this first one came from the secondary teachers. And if we remember right, blended days came about because of the need for intervention and comparing it to having a 30-minute period per day of intervention, or to push those all into one day. So that's what the question was. And has the intervention model of blended days been effective for the mentoring period compared to the one from last year?
It's been more effective than the process last year.
Yeah, that's what the question was. And yeah, that is a typo, my bad on that one. And so out of that, 91% of the teachers indicated, so that would have been 22 out of the 24, indicated that yes, they don't want to go back to the 30-minute intervention. We did also, there's other things that we asked in there, but at first we're just trying to say, okay, is this better than it was? You know, trying to figure out where we're at with it. The elementary didn't have a blended 30-minute period per day. So we asked them, have you found it to be beneficial for your students? And 13 out of the 14 said yes. They felt like, yes, this is beneficial for the students on what they are doing. When we asked the classified staff, out of the 28 responses, 6 said no. But as we went and looked into that, we could see that it's, whether it was for students, or maybe we could have asked this one a little bit differently, but overwhelmingly, when we look at the staff, I say, what does your staff think about this? Overwhelmingly, 80% to 90% of the staff feels like this is something that they can make a good impact on kids. When we asked them, what would you do differently? Especially even the ones that said no, we said, do you have another idea for intervention? The ones that said no really didn't have another option. It's just like, I don't like it. like just send them to school is what they would rather do. Which overall isn't something that I would support, but I'm just trying to be open to say, look, I've considered it, we've asked on it. Some of the other things, here's some highlighted suggestions on the feedback. Teachers and instruction staff like being able to help students get caught up and provide additional support. This one was, in the comment section, they like it. They really like being able to do that. And I wonder, I don't want to criticize somebody that says I don't like doing that. Maybe they're just not seeing it the same way as some of the other teachers. Some of the suggestions were to spread the days out over the trimester instead of at the end. Other things that they said, well, what's not working with it? And a lot of it was just working through the logistics of students, mostly in the secondary setting, like when they rotate classes, what do they do when they finish work? If they're completing assignments, are they disrupting other students? How do we communicate better with parents? Those are just some of the issues. Again, we've tried this 4 times in the first trimester. We're just about ready to start it next week for 4 more times for the second trimester. And so those are things that but again, those are just the concerns that those that took the survey shared back. Classified, the group that had the biggest challenge was our food service. And that was, I think their biggest thing was how do we determine how many kids to feed on that question?
I thought we knew who was coming,
We know who's invited.
so that's a rough estimate of how many kids are gonna be eating, right?
Yeah, and we did, after we've had this discussion already, we've already met with administration. So what we're doing with this is there were 2 things. When we were in our supervisor meeting, which consisted of the principals and all the supervisors, we were talking about these results and the concerns. And one of the things I think will also help with the menu, Mrs. Ward was thinking that if she offered sandwiches on those days in a take and go bag, she's like, I don't want to just do take and go bags, because I got the impression that she thought she wasn't doing enough for the kids. But our feedback was just do the take and go bags, which would make it easier to not have to be so exact. Like when you're preparing food and you're pulling food out and prepping it, you have to be really close to exact on what it is that you're making. And so she took that feedback, and then we're also going to be able to, when the kids are here, give her that exact number, and that's going to help her out. So I think we've to at least from the staff side, it's been positive.
May I ask another question?
Absolutely.
So how many of those kids that are invited, what percentage of them come or don't come?
I don't have the exact, but I know it's high.
It is 5,
I know it's high.
even though they've been invited by the teacher and the parent knows they've been.
No, it's high. There's
The ones that are coming.
the ones that aren't come, it's high.
Okay,
Like it's still, there's always going to be a handful of kids that the teacher's like, we want to help you do this, and the kids and the parents just don't do it. We want to help you do this, and the kids and the parents just choose not to. And I don't know what else to do with that, because we are offering lots of opportunities for them. And so, but those that are invited, most of them show up.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably 90% of them.
oh, that's great.
I really do. I think those that are invited, 90% of the kids come. Are there any other concerns? This is a discussion / information. Any other concerns or anything that the board would like to ask me now, or?
Well, Tyson had mentioned some parents' concerns related to blended days.
There's just been a lot of talk that the parents would just rather have all their kids go to school on those days. Just because it's typically in the younger grades, it kind of gets, one goes, one doesn't, then they have this whole that comes home and it doesn't always get done, even with pushing, and it's,
When you've had parents ask you about that, do they know they can send their kids?
We haven't talked about that, and I didn't really relay that to them.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, my wife and I discussed that. They can still send them if they want to go.
So I talked to a teacher during parent teacher conference and asked about that because there are some kids who aren't always invited to come because the need isn't there where it might be for some of the others. And the impression was, well, they're always invited, but I really have some things I need to work on with a select group of kids. And if you had everybody here, I wouldn't be able to
Focus on that certain
yeah,
group.
which isn't wrong, but does that throw a wrench at the teacher trying to figure out how can I best help these students and still help these that are still wanting to come?
I know that, again, this is one of the things that from the administrative side of it, I want everybody to be invited to it. I think we just need to reiterate that to our teachers, that I recognize that this is not perfect, but there's not a perfect thing. If we're just telling kids, we only want you to come, but you guys go away, these parents that Tyson are concerned about, they don't like that. And
Is there some teachers that just invite all their students no matter what?
I don't think so. I think some teachers invite half of their students one week and the other half the other week.
Yeah.
So they try to alternate
So
amongst
they
the
do get
students.
more individualized.
So
I know.
everybody gets the invite at some point.
I know, so, and it can, but it also changes going up, and you know, I could look at this and say, okay, we're only gonna bring secondary in, but that's gonna also make parents a little upset saying, because that's what we've done in years past, it's a lot of times we're also comparing us to other districts. Districts like Madison or Rigby, or even all the other bigger districts that are right around us. You look at that and they can say, well, why can you have an early out at this school at this time and an early out at this school at this time? They have different buses and they can send buses and send kids home. Like one of the suggestions that came up from one of the teachers is, well, why can't we just have it every time we do this, have part of the day where everybody comes and then keep the others that just need help for the last couple hours. Great idea.
Better throw off the bus scheduling.
What do we do with busing? What do we do with lunch services? Yeah, it works great when the high school kids can just drive them, but we're trying to figure out what it is, and that's why I think this approach, it's not perfect for everybody. I get that there's going to be some that are upset, but I haven't had a better solution. I just.
Has been brought up about maybe spreading the days out, so it's not falling all at the last part of the trimester.
And I've heard both. I've heard some people say, no, I really like it at the end. And so I do actually have two.
Do they like the number of days, or are they thinking it's too many days, or did you?
I think some of the
feedback
teachers,
there?
I didn't ask if they thought it was too many.
Okay.
What happened with that? I'm not sure.
Well, Terry,
Yeah, she. Let's see. To refresh, because I was gonna pull up the. It's look frozen there. So, and I could put out, I guess here's the question. Do we put out a blended survey to the parents to guide us one way or another?
no,
And I don't know if we need to.
That'll cause confusion, won't it?
I don't know about
I
confusion.
think you get a dozen, 100 different answers, and you'll still be
Yeah.
wondering. what
Yeah, if
you're
you get
gonna
50 different answers, then you're kind of in a mess.
I think if parents have concerns, they would have expressed them at this point to the administration, to the teachers, and the teachers and administrators would have gotten
Well,
back.
And that's the thing is I think it really is a small minority that has concerns about it. A very small minority.
Mhm.
And on most issues, it's interesting because I've had people usually generally don't tell me that they like something. It's usually people that, you know, so if I look at this, like, people don't say, hey, I really like that. But I've had just as many, if not more, people tell me they like it than they don't. So if I'm looking at that saying that, you know, if somebody doesn't like something, they're gonna say something generally. But if I have the same amount of people saying, hey, I really like that as well, I can guess that there's more people that like it, which tells me we're going in the right direction with what we're trying to do. Let's see here.
Another district did the same thing.
So,
Rigby just did the same thing. They changed next try. They have blended days every Friday.
yeah,
Set the standard.
yeah, so,
Yeah,
and I did
we
hear.
might have started something.
Pioneer.
And so I don't know.
Every Friday.
I'm having trouble, Mrs. DeGraw, with trying to make sure I get my right.
So do they have a blended day every Friday in Rigby?
They started
Every
next
Friday?
try. They're doing it.
Those
Those
will
will be
show.
in the mornings, they'll do the blended, the kids that need the help can come in. And then the afternoon is teacher in service.
Stop share.
Is what I think is what they're trying to do.
It sounds like they're trying to make every Friday useful.
So they're kind of trying the same idea we're doing, but. just
More of it.
That's a question. Do we need to do more of it? And should we have the elementary come on Monday?
Yeah, that's some good questions. Do we need to do more of the Friday blended days?
Like, look at a calendar that does more of it.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think we're okay where we're at.
I think we're okay. I think more might just set off those that are wondering about it right now. Anyway.
Usually the way that ours has been running, where we do it the last 6 weeks of the try, it's when the kids are struggling. They're trying to get everything finished. They now have stuff they're behind on. It gives an opportunity with more one-on-one if they're struggling with something with the teachers, they get caught up. And it helps keep them up at the end of the try when they need it the most. Like, we did it all the time. Like, some of them would just be like, oh, okay, we'll just come on Friday.
So I have, if we're having the technical difficulties pulling this up right now, but I have from our calendar setup that we've approved for 3 years with the blended days that we amended the blended days in last May, put them in there. So I brought up two different options where I have the regular one with the blended days all at the end, or one with the blended days that are spread out. And it's really not that much. You're still gonna have there's typically 3 months in each trimester. So one trimester you have a blended day. This 1 month you have a blended day, the next month you have a blended day, and then you have 2. So that's kind of what I'm thinking would spread it out a little bit, but at the same time, it doesn't change it a lot. And I know we asked the question, do we need more? Should we be doing more of this? You know, as Deputy Keller brings up that Rigby is doing this every single Friday moving forward. We know that Bonneville does this every single Monday. But again, that's at their secondary schools. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what their elementary. No. I have 2 PDFs on the screen. If you close out this, it's just PDFs on the. It's not in the Google Chrome. On the screen. Those right here. Yep, there it goes. All right, let me see if I can get that. Is there a reason why that's not full screen on
It's
that
on my
one?
computer.
Okay. Those people at home have a better view than we do right now.
Yes, they do.
So this would be the carbon copy of this year's calendar. Just extended into next school year. Where the school would start on Monday the 22nd. And we'd have Fridays. Oh, actually, this one is the one where it's spread out. So this is one where we would have September, and instead of having this blended day be on the 14th, we push it up into September, so that month has one blended day. October would have one blended day halfway through, and then you'd have 2 blended days in November for that. The second trimester would have 1 blended day for January and 2 blended days for February. And one in December as well. So you'd have December, January, and then 2 in February. And then when you look at March, we come in, figure you'd go 2 weeks, have your spring break, come back, have a blended day. You'd have 2 in April and 1 in May of that. And so this is from the feedback from the teachers that I think that would at least address that we're spreading it out. But I don't think it fixes, like, this isn't gonna address the issues like where Tyson said the parents that talk to you. So why can't we send them? Well, you can send them all. Part of it's what are you choosing to do as a teacher or as a parent? And I know what the teachers are saying, oh, I wish they didn't send everybody. But our teachers need to realize it's still better than nothing. It shouldn't be a new day of instruction. It should be a repeat. And so part of that is just telling our teachers, you know what, if this is the case, it's the case. And that's something that we're gonna have to address our teachers on, because I don't think we go to saying you can't come if the parents really want them to come. And that's where these frustrations come up. Do you guys have any other thoughts though? Like as we look at that?
It sounds like the elementary teachers feel like it's really beneficial. So
Well, both teaching staffs, if you look at both, and when you break that down on the other one, if you take out the non-instructional staff from that third one, I bet you it's 95% supportive, if not more.
I'm pleased to see that. I wasn't sure it'd be like that, so that's nice to see. I'm glad you did the survey.
Well, and I hope our staff realizes that if they don't like it, that's their say. That's the feedback that I get. And I could explore different things on what Rigby's doing. I don't know how we would pull that off logistically if I don't know if we need to either, because if it was every single Friday, I think it's going to lose its effectiveness. And that's what I worry, where again, it's not our district, but comparing 2 districts that are trying this, one is going to try it on a Friday and one does it on a Monday. And the one on a Monday is probably more effective when it comes to instruction. The ones that do it on Friday, it's going to turn into a potentially a 3-day weekend on that. And that's the thing that you'd fight on that. Whereas, yes, we're doing ours on Fridays, but when we do them, hopefully we're not doing them as much that the kids are like, hey, I need to be there. And so that's.
do you see a benefit to just doing it in the secondary?
No, and the reason why, because what's going to happen is the feedback from our teachers show that they, at least in the elementary, they feel like they have a chance to help some of those kids. I know that maybe if it was one of those where they just invited the kids that needed to come, but that comes with a lot of different things. Parents are going to say, oh, my kid doesn't feel smart because he got invited to come to this. And again, we have to change that conversation. We are not going to apologize for trying to educate your children. That's the things that we need to have your support with. That change the conversation at home to what a great opportunity to get to go and work. And it's not easy for teachers. It is an extra work for them to do it, but they gladly do that. The ones that want to make an impact to kids, they gladly do that. But logistically, if we only have our secondary come, we're going to have some families go, well, I work. I can't leave my little kids home. And if you're asking big brother or big sister to come to high school, who's going to watch the kids during that day? That's the exact same thing that happened what was it, 3 years ago on our calendar? Where we did have those professional development days for just elementary, if you remember those. And that was one of the biggest complaints, or at least downfalls to that one is, if you're gonna be in school, have everybody in school. And I know that the blended days aren't quote everybody, but it's just, but
Parents at home have a choice.
parents have a choice on that. Okay, I appreciate that feedback, and again, I'll be open to that. And if you feel like there are parents that want to visit about it, yeah, I get that there's two ways. There's gonna be a couple of different approaches that people take. I don't like it. So if I talk to Shane's boss, he's gonna change it. But it happens the same thing with sports. If I complain enough about a coach, eventually they're gonna leave. If I complain enough about something, eventually something's gonna happen. But we have really we've been really careful about this decision. I mean, why do we do it? This is the reason why. We recognize it's not gonna be perfect for everybody. If those parents wanna still come and visit with me, they need to have a solution for the big picture. Because I recognize it's going to be inconvenient for some. And there's nothing else that we can do about that. So feel free to send them my way if you need them to. But I'm also trying to give the board as much information as possible to help you guys. All right, I need to do a new share. Carrie, could you make that full screen on here?
Is it not?
Not on this TV, it's not.
It's just the way the view is on the Zoom.
Okay.
It's the way it's sharing your screen.
Okay. ESSER spending plan.
It's an update for the board. Our ESSER spending plan was reviewed by the state. They did send it back to us to have a few minor changes. They required that I had some wording in it. I needed to add things that included the subgroups of students that would be included in it. In my mind, when I filled it out, I thought that that's what it meant, but they're just trying to make sure that we're meeting all the federal requirements on the checklists. And so I just added the subgroups to it. It didn't change anything that we're doing with the spending. And so that's been sent back in. And then we will, as we start to utilize that, we did hire a teacher to help in 5th and 6th grade with math as part of the ESSER learning loss money that we've had. And so moving forward with that, we'll continue to utilize that money the best we can to address learning loss and help with anything with getting our facilities updated and help with the impacts of COVID-19 in the schools.
Okay. And trustee rezoning.
All right. So back in June, when I met with the school board, we were informed through the ISBA that they had an option for us to be able to hire them to do the trustee zoning, or to allow myself and Mrs. DeGraw at the district office work through that. And it's been a good learning experience for us. Complications with this whole process is the final results for the census weren't available until the middle of December, which was just less than a month ago.
Well, all the data was available, but it wasn't available in an accessible.
It wasn't
format.
available in an Excel spreadsheet. You had to go in and click and look. And so when it was available, but we worked with the Jefferson County Mapping Department, and we have everything in place for it. Last week, on the day that the state board was meeting, we received this spreadsheet here saying that we were missing an item. This was not ever given to us until the day of, which was frustrating on our part, thinking how do we know what the state board needed to look at. So as you can see that we had everything available with the exception of this shapefile, which this was not anywhere on the State Board of Education website. I did reach out to several state board representatives, had a conversation with our local state board representative, Cindy Sidaway, explained to her, she said, don't worry about it. What it was is when the state board met, if it wasn't approved, it just gives us 45 more days and it's going to be approved on the next setting. So we called our contact at Jefferson County, and I probably within 10 minutes,
Yes.
he had that sent back over to Mrs. DeGraw and I. We forwarded it on to this individual who's been collecting that stuff for ISBA to get it ready. And so the report back is it's going to be done and approved. It's just it's going to take 45 more days before the state board meets to finalize that. So we are in
So-
compliant.
Although we had all the materials in before they voted, because their agenda already said do not approve, just like with our agenda, you can't amend it.
Or the
So,
recommendation from them on the agenda.
Right, right.
Even though we actually had it there before the meeting. And so here's what the zones will look like. And these did change a little bit, so some of the things that when you look at all these little white lines, those aren't roads, those are census blocks. And we talked about that. And so zone 1 in Montague will follow these lines or the extended lines of roads. So you have 1300 north, but this is extended because it's going out through the lake and out through the desert.
Mr. Williams, one thing to note that although we are calling Zone 1 Montague, it does not encompass the entire area of
Of
Montague because of population discrepancies.
Well, yeah, no, we do call it Montague, but we should probably just start calling it zone 1, because you look at that where zone 3, it does bring in a portion of Monview, but so does zone 2. You know, the people that live over here, they still call themselves Montague as well. It just, we can't call it Montague, Mud Lake, Territon, Hamer, just because the zones by law have to be separated by population. So you can see that zone 3 did go a little bit to the north. We did come out and choose to just put zone 4 with all of this desert area out in the INL, partially just because you take all the jackrabbits and elk and everything out there. But you look at this, they didn't like that we split this zone right here
That
on the last
census
time.
block.
The census block that came out here, I didn't know how to go in and create legal verbiage to say, follow this trail through the desert out this
Go out
way.
to the rock,
up
to
and-
the den of the
And
fox.
so a lot of this, we just looked at it and said, okay, why is it this way? This little jot that comes up is a census block. And that census, like, initially I tried to split the census block right here because nobody lives in this section. But when I sent it
They
in,
may.
they may, but again, the comment that was when we reached out is, well, how do we know we can trust you? And I'm like, you're killing me on that because we live there. We're not going to be submitting it, but I just thought, you know what, if I just follow the census blocks. And so our legal description will follow these census blocks that they go up. The other thing that changed with earlier is these 9, at least that happens here, go into 3 instead. Before it was in 4, it came across. And put not in this session. And so that way, I thought I was going to get away with not having one populated area, but this is the part that blew my mind, is in this census block right here with the 9 inhabitants. I thought by going straight up, I wasn't going to be splitting it, but it actually is part of this right over here on Greens Island. So when they did that census block, I don't know if they thought people were just going to build houses all through those areas. And so a perfect example of that would just be with our legal descriptions. So what I did to prove that I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to do any sneaky things as I came in and I had to have map examples that this is Green's Island, even though that is connected to the other one. And so, yeah, so those are the things that we got to
Good
do
job, wow.
to prove. So,
And we had to prove that we weren't gerrymandering.
Yeah.
yeah, so we're not gerrymandering, even though
Yeah.
somebody might come down here and go, oh, you're gerrymandering right here. The reason why I would have preferred a straighter line, but there's two rules. You can't gerrymander and you can't break census blocks
With population.
with populations in them. And if you do break one with populations, like I did on this 9, I've got to have backup for it. So, you know, as we talked earlier, around 1900 North, there's that one little spot that,
It's farther down, Mr. Williams.
oh, there it is. It
By the
comes right
977.
here. So this would be the spot by Bybie's Wells, right here. This is one where our legal description will say along 1900 North until it reaches the intersection of Holly Canal. Take a southeasterly from Holly Canal until it hits Camas Creek. Follow Camas Creek northeasterly until it goes back to 1900 North. So that means that the inhabitants that do live there in that little jot are going to be in zone 5. Because that was the one where he's like, well, you can't split that census block. How do you know people live? I'm like, well, I can go take a picture of the house that's below it and just say, it's easier for us to explain to people south of 1900 North or north of it. That's gonna be our only, that one there. And then the other one,
Dowling.
when you come to 2250 East by Loretta Ashcraft's house and you're going up this way, David Dowling's residence is right here. The census block comes around the curve and then swings back
Around. the
down
other
around on a, this one is like a desert road from Sage Junction. So if you come up to Sage Junction right before the hill, there's a little desert road that goes back that you can follow. And so that means David Dowling would be in zone 5. Everybody to the west of David Dowling's house would be in zone 4. So that's where we're at. You know, it got me thinking, like with the southern boundary, I don't know if anybody ever wants to, I think there's some farm ground right along this area here. I don't know who owns that, Tyson.
Where's
We're always
that?
talking about, so when you get on Sage Junction,
Uh-huh.
because I know that there was somebody building something on this side. I don't know if it was commercial,
Yeah, I think it is.
but if anybody built a house there, that's really, that's Jefferson District. But if you come down the frontage road and then follow these roads over, this is farm ground here. But I think some of these areas are also
Oh, it's
farm grounds.
right around.
And so if they ever built houses there, we would send buses to go pick them up. Because that would be in our
It's in
district.
our zone.
And so it's, I don't know, like, you know, but again, the census block initially, when we pulled the information was picking up some of the houses down in here and we had to go in and verify where they were at. So it's been a lot of work, but I just wanted to give the board an update that by after the board approves, after the state board approves it, we'll come in and we'll
Have
approve
you
it for
guys
ours and we'll
accept
get it put in.
Was there a penalty?
No penalty. Just fear mongering. Just.
And we did appear in Idaho Ed News that we were.
Yeah, so there was an article in Idaho News that we were one of 2 school districts that didn't have it completed by this. But it was really quick and just said, but they have 45 days to make corrections. So to be fair, but again, you never want your district to be out there and be like, guess what? You guys didn't do it. That's why Cindy called me. She's like, Shane, what's going on?
Experience. How much?
You know, I think we would do it again. In 10 years, I'm hoping to still be here as I think we do it again.
This really allowed me, as someone who's not familiar with the area, become very familiar with where the roads are, where a secretary from one of the buildings called and said, hey, is this road in our district or out of our district? And I knew exactly how to find it. I knew where the census blocks were, and I could answer that question.
I thought it was helpful for a district our size and where we're at. I would do it again, going back. Not only did we save $5,000, so, you know,
Right.
But it was something that, again, I can come and answer to somebody right now that says, well, I used to be in zone 5, but I'm in zone 4 now. Why did you guys do that? Like, I can say this is,
And if somebody gave us their address, we could tell them exactly what zone they were in and why they were in that zone.
so I'm glad that we had this opportunity.
Thank you too for all your work on it. I know it was a headache at times. Okay, lastly, Day on the Hill. That coming right up in February, right?
Yeah.
February
So
21st.
21st and 22nd, this is an opportunity for some training and some opportunities to visit with legislatures. If you're asking my opinion, I don't think it's necessary for everybody to go to.
Just whoever wants to
Just
go.
whoever wants to
Whoever
go to.
wants to go.
I know that
It's
Willie,
not mandatory. I have to go
because you're on the,
because I have a meeting of the executive ISBA board.
and
Let's meet afterwards so we can get you registered.
Yeah,
and get you
Mika
hotel.
says you gotta be registered.
is there
The
anybody
room by the
else
24th.
showing interest in going? You can go see your dad, Tyson. You want to see him in
Yeah.
action?
Yeah, you wanna go, Tyson, or?
We made that once.
I remember we were over there one year and Shane and I went over into your dad's office and visited with him in the cabinet.
Yeah. I looking at the schedule of events, I will not be there for day 1, but I will travel over to be there for day 2. As I was looking at the agenda, I think that would be better use of my time. And then I will stay Tuesday night because I have an Idaho School District Council meeting the following day on that.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event.
I don't see why. And then we have board meeting the next day, so yay.
So if the board just wants to think about it and let me know in the next couple of days who wants to go, and then I can get you registered in a hotel room.
I will not.
Okay,
If you know right now, it's okay to say that too.
For your information, it's at the Grove. Right downtown.
Okay. And our last item, we need to schedule a work meeting.
do we want to schedule that right now? That's not something that's required to be scheduled on.
So we can adjourn then.
We could adjourn and then Mr. Williams could look at his calendar and send out a message as to when would work to do that.
Okay. We'll be open for a motion to adjourn then.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.